Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. A quick Michigan trounces Ohio State in the Horshoe edition of the Format Podcast. Just a quick few words to kind of give my immediate feelings after that game. It was crazy. Didn't expect that at all. Yeah, before we get to that, you know what we got to do. Go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell. Make sure if you want the audio only version, you just search the Format Podcast in your audio podcast platform. Give us the 5-star review. Leave us a comment on your audio platform or right here on YouTube. And of course, if you enjoy the show, make sure you share it with other sports fans. Now, Michigan 45, Ohio State 23. This is the last thing I would have expected. I talked about this last episode. A lot of things I really felt like if Blake Corum wasn't there and Michigan couldn't really get the run game cranked up, then they wouldn't have a chance to win with Ohio State's super explosive offense. But I think that the Michigan that we saw all year, while they were relatively dominant, it was clear that they were holding some things back for Ohio State. Either they were holding some things back or during this week, knowing that Blake Corum wouldn't be 100% and probably wouldn't be able to contribute a whole lot, added in some wrinkles Ohio State was absolutely not ready for. And we know that Jim Knowles was brought in from Oklahoma State to be the new defensive coordinator last summer and to help shore up that run defense. But at the end of the day, this Michigan Wolverines team has taken on their head coach's identity, and that's physical, that's bully ball, that's old school football. Play defense, pound the rock with some timely passing plays sprinkled in. Now, I tell you, no one expected J.J. McCarthy to have the day that he did, and he's had the biggest day of his young career so far. 12 of 24 passing, not great, but 263 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, and no interceptions, QBR of 89. And it was absolutely crazy because throughout the entire first half, Ohio State was shutting down the Michigan run game, as you probably would have expected without Blake Corum. But J.J. McCarthy kept them in the game. The defense was doing their thing, and all the time I'm watching and I'm saying, okay, the defense is playing lights out. They're containing Ohio State. The offense needs to help them before they run out of gas, and that's exactly what J.J. McCarthy came in and did. Cornelius Johnson for Michigan, 4 catches on the day, 160 yards, receiving 2 touchdowns and a long of 75. Insane. So McCarthy goes bombs away over the top in the first half, gets some elite monster chunk plays in the passing game, and then they never completely got away from the run game. That started to really wear on Ohio State, and at the end of the day, you know, going into the second half, and then as the second half progressed, you see Ohio State's toughness being tested and Michigan wearing on them, leaning on them, and Michigan ends up running 35 times, 252 yards, and they are pounding the rock. You see Donovan Edwards stepping in for Blake Corum. Great day, 22 carries, 216 yards. Now, obviously, one of those was 85 yards. I think he had another 40 or 50 yards. So he had a couple of huge chunk plays. But the point is, Michigan did not completely get away from their identity. They added some other things, but they didn't get away from what they do. And what they do ended up winning this game handily, 45-23. Now, going into this game, I'm thinking, okay, Ohio State is, you know, they're upset at the way they got manhandled last year. And, you know, that bulletin board material's been up all summer. They've been training. They bring in a new DC. I'm sure they, you know, attempted to instill an attitude of more physicality, more toughness. But at the end of the day, you know, I talked about all their elite weapons on the perimeter. Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, Egbuka, can't remember his first name. But, you know, elite weapons, of course, C.J. Stroud in the backfield at quarterback, All-American guy, probably likely Heisman finalist and possible Heisman winner, although this game may knock him off, especially if Caleb Williams has a great one tonight against the Irish. But you look at this and then you say to yourself, at the end of the day, this is very simple. Ohio State is an extremely talented football team. Ohio State is an extremely well-coached football team. But guess what? They're not an extremely tough football team. So you saw in the first half when J.J. McCarthy from Michigan started hitting those bombs over the top, and Michigan was able to stay in the game. I'm saying to myself, watching the game, Michigan can't win a shootout if this keeps up, but they didn't have to, because slowly they started to break the Buckeyes' will. The Buckeyes saw someone that didn't go away when they were hitting them, and kept coming back. And now you've got the big plays because for whatever reason, the Buckeyes kept sending that zero blitz. I don't know. I mean, you're stopping the run. Why are you sending the zero blitz? So that's happening. They're getting beat over the top. And then Michigan continues to attempt to pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock. Second half, pound the rock, lean on them. And then the dam breaks. And you see Donovan Edwards get the 85-yarder. Then he gets another long one. And so, you know, Michigan eventually breaks through with the run game. Again, 252 rushing yards total. And Ohio State, their toughness was tested and they failed the test. At the end of the day, again, Ohio State, tremendous football team, extremely talented, but their toughness was tested and they failed the test. They just don't have it on that front. If you're Ryan Day, I'm not sure how you institute a culture of toughness. I really don't know how you do that, how you change it, because you are what you are. You're an elite, high-flying, explosive passing team. But can you get tougher? Can you get more physical in the trenches? Can you build that mentality, that mind state, that body blow mind state, which Michigan seems to embody so well? I'm really not sure. Now, on to the political side of this. Michigan obviously will play for the Big Ten championship next week. They'll likely win that. I think they'll probably be playing Iowa. Iowa's not going to beat them. Barring a letdown, right? Obviously, this is the game. They call it the game, right? But this is the game of the year for Michigan. So barring a letdown, they're probably going to be Big Ten champions, which means undefeated Big Ten champs. They're going to get back into the playoffs. They'll probably be number 2. My thing is this now. Ohio State, while they got beaten badly, if you don't believe they're one of the 4 best teams in the country, you're lying to yourself or you haven't been watching all year. Ohio State should make the playoff as well. So like I've been saying, if this were the SEC, both of those teams coming in undefeated and one losing, both of those teams would make the playoff. Now, this gets real easy if Notre Dame beats USC tonight. And then, of course, if TCU loses in the Big 12 championship game, this gets real easy. And we have the 2 teams from the Big Ten and then likely the 2 SEC teams. Well, no, not the 2 SEC teams. If LSU loses in the conference championship game, they have 3 losses, they don't get in. So then it starts getting interesting. But no, I definitely believe that Michigan and Ohio State should both be in the playoff. And if they're not both in the playoff, somebody who's got access needs to hold the committee's feet to the fire and ask that question, why are they both not in? Because I'm telling you, if those were 2 SEC teams, they would both be in. But let me get off that soapbox. Let me give congratulations to Coach Harbaugh and his Michigan Wolverines for going into the hostile confines of the Horshoe at Ohio State and winning this game in a dominant fashion, 45-23. Congrats, Michigan Wolverines. And, you know, another 365 days for the Ohio State Buckeyes to have to chew on this thing. All right. So what I want to know from you, did you expect the way Michigan pulled this out, especially with Blake Corum injured? And what do you think Michigan's chances are going the rest of the way into the college football playoffs? And should the Big Ten have 2 teams? All right. Thanks so much for listening and watching. And I'm out. Peace.